Welcome back to the newest edition of My Case Monday. So today we are talking about vendors, and I am logged into my demo file of 8 a.m. My Case, and it always starts at the home screen. We're going to go down the left menu, bump out accounting, and then we're wrapping up bills and expenses today. So bills and expenses. And then we've already covered bills, clients' expenses, and now we're on vendors. So within vendors, this is a dashboard of sorts where it's just listing every vendor that you've ever set up within MyCase Accounting. It's going to be sorted alphabetically by the vendor name, and it's just alphabetical here. But it's going to show you all the vendors you have set up within MyCase Accounting. Then whatever, if you have their phone numbers populated within MyCase, it'll be here. The email, if you have that populated, it'll be here. If they have payment terms, that would be listed here. And then you can go through. Now, notice how this vendor column has an arrow, because you can sort. So that if down is sorting, reverse alphabetical. Click it again, it's alphabetical. You can't do that for phone, email, or payment terms, but you can click on overdue expenses. And then what this does is this is telling you which vendors have at least one invoice. So this means one invoice, the red dot with the one. If you had multiple, it would say, 2 invoices or 3 invoices or however many individual invoices are in here, not yet paid. And then the next column is total overdue. And you can sort by this. You can sort increasing or decreasing. And balance, because you could have a situation where you owe somebody $10,000, you paid them $2,000, and you still owe them $8,000. So these columns can have different balances between the total overdue plus the balance. Again, you can sort balance by ascending or descending. If they're a 1099 vendor, now I've talked about this before in at least one video, maybe even 2 videos, where I do not rely on any bookkeeping software to track who's a 1099 vendor. I do it completely outside of any bookkeeping system, because I don't like I'm a little OCD on this one, and I need to have multiple boxes, or boxes might not be the right way to say that, but the idea here with this vendor, with this column 1099 vendor, it's, do you owe them a 1099 at the end of the year, or in January for the prior year? The options that are available don't give me enough comfort that I have reviewed every single vendor and correctly have them updated. So that's why I don't ever rely on this. But if these were filled out, you would be able to click, yes, that's a 1099 vendor, or no, they're not. But what you can do in here is, in addition to sorting the certain columns, if you're like, oh, what is that one? And you just start typing, you can start filtering by name. And so I typed in land, and it gives us landlord. You can also search. So you can search by name or by email. So I can clear my filter. And if I type in an email, and it'll filter based on the email. So if you're like, oh, I know we pay it and it's info at something, you could type in info, and then hopefully that field is filled out. And if it's a field that's populated within MyCase, it'll sort or to filter this list. Now, again, I think I had on the client expenses, I wish there were more filters. So I'm happy that there are filters on this page, but I wish I had more filters that would just give me the options. Like, I want to know what's overdue. I want to know what has a balance. So it would be nice to go in here and just click a filter that says, only show me the vendors I owe money to. So just one extra filter out here would be great. Who has a balance, that would be great. And if I did use this for 1099s, it would be great to have another filter for, who's a 1099 vendor, because you can kind of go through this and, use that as a filter. That would be great. So a couple other things that you can do on this page, you can edit. So I have landlord here. And if something, I'm like, oh, I just found out their email, it's info@landlord.com. I can go ahead and update that vendor. And now that information is here. So that's what that pencil is. It's to edit. And then if you've gotten to the point, and I used to be so diligent with this, and admittedly, I'm so horrible about it now because who has time? But I used to be really good about only having active vendors available in my vendor list. So you have the ability to archive. However, I will tell you within here, I would be nervous to archive because I don't know how you get them back. Because in my mind, if I archive a vendor, I should have some type of a filter out here that lets me filter and show the archived. So I'm nervous that if I archive, I won't be able to find them again. And then there's delete. I believe, because I notice how some of these have archive as it's the box with the down arrow, and then some of these have delete. I believe the difference between these is if you have any information of any invoice ever posted, whether it's paid or not, then you have to archive it, because just from a coding standpoint in a database, once you have information and it's linked within different sections of the database, you can't ever truly delete it because it messes up everything. I believe that the reason why, like bank, you have the ability to delete it is because there's absolutely zero. It was set up, never referenced, never used within MyCase Accounting. So you have the ability to delete it. But I'm pretty sure that the reason why these are archived, or you have the ability to archive them, you cannot delete them once they've been used. And so, and we've talked about before on other pages where you have the ability to increase your text size, or you can, you have your buttons to increase and decrease. And then the only other last thing, and this has actually been, even though we've gone through bills, client expenses, and vendors, the one thing that I haven't talked about yet is there's an add vendor button. So you can click the add vendor, and then this is where you can go in and you can say county sheriff. I don't have any of the other information. 123 Main Street in Cleveland. And then if we know what the GL is that we're always going to post this to, you can select that, but it's an optional. It makes it easier when you go to any information you can fill out here at the vendor level, helps you with data entry going forward. So if you type out the address now, then when you go to print the check later, you don't have to continue to type it out. So that's the advantage. Fill this out as much as possible. Some of it is to facilitate data entry for future invoices, but stuff like email, website, and phone number helps you if you have a question. Instead of digging out the invoice, you can just come right here and you could say, oh, I have the contact information for this vendor, and it's in here. And then we create the vendor, and then it just popped up here at the top. So I typed in county sheriff, and then currently I have nothing. So those are the things that you could do on this vendors tab. If you have any other questions, let us know. Come back next week for the next edition of MyCase Monday.